So there are so many ways to imagine what a literary garden could be. For some of you, you might jump straight to a garden nook where you can curl up for hours and just read in the garden. And then others, you might think of Alice in Wonderland. So you might think something topsy-turvy, like Mad Hatter style. Or you might want something more sophisticated and elegant, and be inspired by the Rose Garden for the Queen of Hearts. There's The Hobbit, there's Redwall, Secret Garden, Pride and Prejudice, Harry Potter. I mean, you've got herbology all the way through to Hagrid's Hut. You might even look at authors' gardens instead of the book itself. Beatrix Potter's Hilltop has this very English cottage garden of flowers mixed with vegetables and herbs. It's all mixed together. And then I've also seen photos of Roald Dahl's pathway to his writing hut with that bright yellow door. And I think I read somewhere that the trees that line that pathway are lime trees that were trained to shape into an arch. So Edith Wharton saw her gardens as elegant outdoor rooms and even wrote a book on Italian villas. And if you're looking for other places to find inspiration, there are a number of books from Beatrix Potter's Gardening Life. That one we have, and I think I've talked about it before. There's, by the same author, one for Emily Dickinson. There's Winnie the Pooh, The Natural World of Winnie the Pooh. So I think I've seen a few of those sorts of books around. So there's inspiration everywhere. Now, once you've looked at all the possibilities, then you get real. So if you're like me and you're a beginner, you really need to take time to watch and read all about the basics. My biggest mistake was that I didn't plan properly. I had this vision, but if you take the time to think through the logistics, everything will move faster in the long run, and you'll have less setbacks, less disappointments, and less dead plants. There's lots of experts out there that have tips on locations based on the amount of sunlight that plants need, through to soils, choosing the right plants for your climate, and all of that matters. Now, once you know that, then you can apply the elements of what you love to the space that you have. My third point would be to find that magical something. And that thing could be something. It could be a Jeremy Fisher inspired water fountain for your frog pond, or it could be the way that you plant things. Personally, I love tall hedges that create those like sky-high walls, and when they're planted a certain way, it can feel like you're always turning around a corner in the garden and finding something new to explore. A very secret garden. So my concept of a literary garden for my backyard is based on the fact that I cook recipes inspired by books. So when I create my recipes, I'm often using commercial varieties of fruits and vegetables, and not necessarily the heirloom varieties that, say, Jane Austen or Washington Irving would have known. So for me, my literary garden is based around that. I'm going to quickly run through my layout for my backyard. The reality for an everyday person like me is that developing your garden isn't like on the TV renovation shows. Not only do gardens take years to build up, for trees to mature before you can harvest, but you also never really finish a garden. It's always evolving, and especially with someone like me, I know I will find a bush or a herb or something like really unique that gets me excited along the way, and I'm gonna have to plant that somewhere. So plants might come in, plants might come out. Now, heads up, my backyard, when I first moved in, was an unloved sandy wasteland. So to plan to scale, I've just grabbed a screenshot from Google. So my first layer is that hedging. Now I'm putting that all around the fence line. They grow about 3 meters tall eventually. It is a Maria, so it's got these orange scented white flowers. And I see this as creating a blank green canvas for my property. Now from here, there are a few zones. The first is the orchard here. I don't have heaps of space, so this area is probably about 5 meters wide and just over 10 meters long. But if you use dwarf varieties, they still grow a decent size, but you can fit a few more in. Now I'm taking a bit of a gamble with this. I'm putting in apple trees. For example, I'm wanting to get a Cox Orange Pippin. I know I can get them here. and it's an old 1800s English variety, and I've been wanting to plant it for ages. So most apple trees need other apple trees near them, so I'm going to plant a few more together. But then also, when I say it's a bit of a gamble, it's because apple trees need a certain number of chill hours. So that's temperatures below a certain number before they can actually blossom and fruit. And my area is really quite mild weather, so I guess we're just gonna see. Now there are a few ways I can break down this other area. I could either do another strip of an orchard. Now I've just purchased a quince tree and an apricot tree to plant. Now the apricot tree is a variety called Moorpark, which was mentioned in Jane Austen's Mansfield Park. So I'm gonna find a little spot for these two guys in the corner here. I could keep going and put more on that left-hand side and make that an orchard, or I can turn it into an outdoor room. So hedges can go up. I would also put in a pond for my frogs so they got a little bit more space. But there's a few options I can do there. Now, while I'm all about food, I'm also going to include a spot in the center. We're going to level that out, backfill it, put some stones and gravel, and that is where our chimney and our fire pit is going to go for winter. Now, I mentioned I love hedging, that they create nooks in the garden. So I'm placing a tall hedge right here, and it's where it steps down into the fireplace area. And the idea is that when you step out the back door, you can't see straight to the back fence. With a hedge in the way, it indicates that there's something more around the corner, and you don't know how much more. It could be a small garden, or it could keep going on. So to emphasize this as well, I'm also putting in a gravel path, and this actually goes on an angle around from the back door instead. I've actually got two paths from the back door, and they end up coming back together and being almost like a teardrop shape. But that curve kind of takes your eye around, and you can't see where it ends. So the other important area is the vegetable garden. Originally, I can't do much else with that area. It's actually a concrete slab underneath. This is why it's important to get to know your garden. I had originally had other plans for it, but then I was digging and I hit concrete, so had to change what I thought I was going to do. But with grazed garden patches there, and it's right at the back door, it's gonna work pretty well. And since when I'm doing my recipes, having access to heirloom varieties is so important. So for example, recipes that call for carrots might not have been orange. So, you know, in certain centuries, yellow and purple carrots were actually much more common. Or take turnips. There is this meal and red wall that I attempted last year using store-bought turnips. I was just like really bad. But then I grew my own. I have these like sweet baby turnips, and they are so delicious. I mean, you can eat them raw, like straight out of the ground. They're that good. And that's not what you would say about store-bought varieties. And that's just the difference having a veggie patch. So just a few more things. I've got palms here, birds live in it. That's their apartment. I'm also gonna pop in my compost bins here. And that's where that path sort of leads around to. Now my workshop, I was going to recover it, but then I thought, you know what? I'm just gonna pop some vines there. So this area down here is staying blank. Mostly it's just very shady because I've got all these trees from my neighbor's property. So either I'll have to find plants that are very shady, move the pond and the sitting area into that corner, or I can leave it blank as a potential area for chickens. Maybe, I'm not sure yet. I'm still thinking these things through. This area here needs to stay, it's paved, and that's probably going to be where I extend that out. And then one final thing that I wanted to feel like it was from home, I'm sticking a big maple tree right here. So it's a nice, it's gonna grow 12 meters tall, so it'll have nice shade in the summertime, but then in winter it'll lose its leaves and that light will come through. It's about yay big right now, so it's got a ways to go. So there we go. That is me laying out my zones and what my main trees are going to be. Look, I would love to know what you would imagine your literary garden to be, or if you could design my space, what you would do. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed a little look into what I pretty much spend my free time doing, and I'll see you guys in the next video.